This is The Joy of Paintball, and I'd like to give a special thanks to my supporters on Patreon. Christopher Harry, Reese Tigert, Colt Wallace, and Edric Alvarez. Thank you so much for your support. The Joy of Paintball also brought to you by Productive Procrastination Productions. Produced by Pipe Dreams and Wishful Thinking. Sound engineers, my kids banging on the door asking for dessert. Also sponsored by free things like caffeine and spell check. The Joy of Paintball made available by viewers like you. Well, I just finished talking to Sunshine Hurlburt. She was an amazing guest. She had so many great things to say, and she's a paintball artist, which that was awesome because there's like a handful of us out there, and I got to interview her and ask her about her art, which, talking about paintball, talking about art, that's kind of what this thing's all about, and it was great. I got to learn her connection to paintball, her connection to art, why she does these bas-relief sculptures. If you don't know what bas-relief sculpture is, go listen to the episode. We talk about that. We talk about all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it was a great conversation. I strongly encourage you to go listen to it, but you're here already, so I figure you're gonna go listen to it. So thanks for being here. Thank you for supporting this, and I hope y'all have a great listen to this episode with a blog full of jelly. That's her Instagram handle, just so you know. All right, I'm Clint. This is Joy of Paintball. Enjoy. Okay, so I'm Clint, by the way. Sorry.
Hi, Clint.
That. Okay, so thank you so much for doing this. I've been looking for artists and paintball players, and hopefully like people that meet both of those, and it's pretty hard to find.
It's true. I only meet one of those criteria. I do not play paintball.
Okay, but you make art about paintball players.
Yes.
And that is our niche has come together, because that's what I do. Right on. So you don't play, but you make all this artwork about paintball. Why?
Good question. So my husband has been on the coaching staff with Damage for a few years now. So he's been playing paintball for at least 25 years. It's the thing he loves most, and so we're there a lot. We drive to every tournament. Yeah. We've been to every NXL tournament for the last, I think, 6 years.
Holy smokes! Okay.
So the first World Cup that he took me to was 2013. There was still sideline coaching, and it was mayhem.
And the best too.
It was. It was
as a spectator. You had to love that.
Maybe
not love it. Yeah,
that's a good way. I couldn't understand the game. Sitting in the stands, everybody's just yelling nonsense, okay. And so I had no way to follow what was actually happening on the field at that time. So I was like, this is cool and all, but it's maybe not for me. But then we got home from that, and he made me watch all of the short buses in goodness. 3 days. And that was a good entry. They're funny. You start to get to know what wrong looks like. You have this opportunity to explain how the game has changed. There's no dead box anymore. You can tell all your old funny dead box stories. There's opportunities to bring somebody in through that.
Interesting. All right.
So by 2018, he was coaching the Killers D3. Okay. And so that World Cup was the first time I was with a team.
All right.
And it was a really hard weekend. But at one point during that, so that was the year that I decided I should probably start paying attention.
Okay.
Because there's always, if there's more than one paintball player in the room, that's what's going to be talked about.
Yeah.
So I knew I had a choice. I could either just disengage whenever the subject comes up, or I can pay attention and see if there's something there. And that would be a much richer experience for the both of us if I can at least be interested, if we can talk about it, if we can watch, footage or whatever, if I can go to tournaments.
I'm sure he was stoked on that too. Like,
He seems pleased.
yeah.
um, but so at that tournament though in 2018 at World Cup, I was watching one of the pro matches. I know it was Impact versus, I want to say Heat, but that could be wrong. But there was some clash that happened in front of me, and something in my head just went, "Oh, this is like no different from what's on the ancient work, and someone should make neoclassical paintball art." And then I went, "Oh, that should be me. Like, it should exist, and who else is going to do it? And I'm probably the best person in the world to do that if I can like buckle down and like actually get good. Because I'd only really made silly stuff or super practical stuff. That's what I like
Yeah.
about clay is that you can make really useful, durable things, or you can
Hmm.
make fantastical nonsense.
So I'm
So
gonna, can I pause real quick? Because I haven't,
please,
I'll put pictures of your work in over this,
great,
but I just
yeah,
want to, for folks that don't watch, I'll just explain. Like, so you work in clay a lot. You do sketches too, but
yeah,
you've done a lot of, and I've heard it from both ways. I'm an art teacher, so I've heard different pronunciations, but you do a lot of what I'm gonna say bas relief. Is it
yes.
bas or bas relief?
I think it's ba, but I'm
Okay.
sure at this point probably both pronunciations are acceptable, like with
Yeah.
so many
So
things now.
yeah.
But I say
So
bas relief.
for our non-art folks, bas relief is the most accessible example of that would be like a coin. How there's a little surface of a face on a coin.
Right.
But Sunshine's artwork is way cooler, if you ask me.
Well,
um,
thanks.
yeah, and a little it comes off the surface a little bit more, so it teeters between two-dimensional and three-dimensional.
Right.
Did I do all right describing
Yeah.
that? Okay.
So clay affords you the opportunity to really project out from the surface. And so you can play with, sometimes it's nice to go real shallow, sometimes it's nice to have a guy
Hmm.
completely popping out of the surface of it, or some variation. I had never made a bas relief before that. I went home from that tournament. I'd studied art history a great deal, and I'd been working in clay for a long time, but just making silly stuff and making like household stuff like tiles and whatnot. And so
Whoa,
the
man.
tile making is why I'm able to make the bas relief slabs,
Yeah.
and that I have a pretty good rate of success with that. Um, but no, I went home from that tournament and just got my eyes on as much work as possible and was like, "You're going to figure out how to get actually good at this."
Well, you
Um,
did it. That's amazing. I can't believe that those are
I
like your
feel
first attempts. Like,
I'm on
that's incredible.
I'm on a long journey. I know that. I didn't start playing with clay until I was 35. I took a evening class in hand building, and then
No way.
went from there. Um, been for the last 10 years or so been like on my own out in the garage, just figuring it out and bumbling along and
Whoa, man.
whatnot. I'd taken drawing and, like I said, lots of art history classes, but I'm not
Okay.
particularly adept at drawing on paper. I enjoy it. I've always done it, but
Yeah.
I was always pleased if I get something nice. But
Yeah.
clay's a lot easier to draw on. It's a lot more forgiving than paper or paint in my experience. Um,
Yeah. I
it can
can see
also
that.
it can be a lot more treacherous too, though, because the process it goes through in the kiln is so violent that little mistakes
Yeah.
you make early on can really doom you later. So it's a lot of
Oh
it
my
is
gosh.
getting out of your own way beforehand. So
I bet.
everything, it starts at the tournament. I will either take a photograph I like, or by the time we're driving home, I've usually identified something and
Yeah.
contacted the photographer and said, "Hey, I want to attempt to use your photograph. Can I do that? Do you have a
Hmm.
fee for that?" And then I have 20 hours to drive home from many of the events to just construct a piece in my head over and over again and see if I can
Wow.
figure out where the pitfalls are going to be and what
Hmm.
potential points of failure might be or what might be neat to try. And every piece I try to challenge myself with something different, be it
Yeah.
more figures or figures moving in a more dynamic way or things
I'm
further away and closer. Or,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm still processing that, like, how, I guess, new, not, I mean, you've been doing it for a while, but like I mean, I did a deep dive on your Instagram today, just going through, and like, all right, where did this start? You know,
It
and
started about
yeah,
5 or 6 years ago now
but
for this for
man,
like serious work, that I've decided that this was like worth applying myself to.
yeah.
And then lockdown happened, and so
Oh,
now
okay.
I've got like a academic reason to go out there every day and give myself exercises and go through all my
Hmm.
photographs and make little sculptures of the guys and just challenge myself every day with a little something new and see what works and what doesn't and what I like and
You guys got to
how
go look
far
at
I
her
could go.
stuff. Like her, so the your Instagram is it blog full of jelly? Is
It's a
that
block
right?
full of jelly,
Okay,
yes.
just making sure I got it.
Yeah.
And you can go through, you see, it's not all bas relief. I saw one in particular. This someone, it was like someone jumping over the bunker to hit the buzzer,
So
and so lifelike. Oh man, it was
that's
great.
Hercule Blanco. She is
Okay,
in the WNXL. She's on the Heroines now.
nice.
That's the first point of the WNXL at the exhibition
No
they
way.
did. Yeah, yeah. So I like to try and like find something in the tournament that needs to be commemorated, be it
Yeah,
some
for
feature
sure.
of it, like the mud in Texas. I was really looking for somebody who got a
Yeah.
great splash. I kept trying on Sunday. We were there just wandering, walking around, watching divisionals, and I just couldn't
Man,
get a good picture. So I was looking for that.
we
Um,
probably crossed paths there. I'm out of
oh, most
Texas, so
definitely.
yeah,
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 like or crossed trenches, whatever you want to
yeah.
puddles. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Man,
was.
I love that though that you're like, you're like documenting in a way like part of the tournament
Yeah, I
and,
want them
or
to be.
history for that matter with the point. Oh my gosh.
So
That's
that yeah,
so
that's
powerful, man.
I did the set of I did a set of four of Jacob winning the one-on-one Forest in Texas. What
Well, of
3 years
course.
ago? There's
Yeah.
been there's been things. There's also
I did
certain
notice a
guys.
lot of Chris Horn, a lot of so I feel like it's a
He's
very
great. So
Florida
Chris,
leaning model that you pull
so
from.
the first pieces were mostly of the Killers because that's who
Okay.
I had access to, and he was
Hmm.
on the Killers then.
Nice.
And so the first one I did of him is actually from the tryout for Damage where he got picked up.
Holy, I love this that you have
So
like actual like connection to all of it. I'm just like, oh, this is a cool picture. Like whenever I pull from photographers or models, it's cool. There's very rarely is it like a moment. I don't know how to say that. Like a, I'll stop interrupting. I'm so
no,
sorry.
no,
Please
not at
go
all.
on.
No, I'm just thinking. I think the first works were more like vanity portraits of the guys, mostly
Okay.
because my understanding of the game was very thin at that point. And also my ability was very thin. So I'm just trying to, can I get one guy in proportion, not stylized, just like an accurate guy? Like that's the
Hmm.
first challenge because I don't think I'd ever even really drawn an accurate guy before.
Hmm.
Um, so then it was, can I get him in motion? Can I get, a couple of guys? But now it's more, can I find a picture that has some narrative quality to it or explains something about how the sport's played?
I love it.
So, do you know anything about the ancient Minoans?
Minoans, I
So,
don't.
these
Sorry.
were the
I don't
guys
think I
on.
do anyways.
Quite all right. No reason you should. You might know the Minotaur in the Labyrinth.
Yes. Yes.
So that story is set on Crete, and that's the Minoan. So that's a myth, but the Minoan people were there before the Greek Empire. They had
Okay.
a 2,000 year society. They had a good run. They
Hmm.
had water pipes in their house. This is like 3,000 to 1,000 BC.
All right.
And they made tons of incredible art, but we don't really know what their deal is because we haven't translated their language yet. But one of the things we know that they did is this sport that we call bull leaping. They had these massive bulls that don't exist anymore. They were 10 feet long and longhorns 10 feet wide. And what they would do is they face the bull and they would run directly at him, grab him by the horns, and the horn throws his head up. and the guy flips in the air and lands on his back, and then does a cool dismount, or you just run at the thing and sail over him. And we
I'm
know
sorry,
they
did I miss that? This was
this is a
actual
human
thing.
just
This is
running.
not
This happened. We know they did this because they represented
what?
it many, many, many times. It's on
Holy
frescoes and
smokes.
they have
Okay.
sculptures. It's on gold jewelry. We know they did this. And
Okay.
so that's some of what I want to do is pin down that this was done here in this time, in this way. But it's real hard to tell how paintball is played in just a handful of images. But
Mm-hmm.
that is what I'm trying to collect is some, you can look at it and go, oh, he's creeping around and going to get that guy. Or this
Mm-hmm.
guy doesn't know that this person is jumping right into their space or whatever it is. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm looking for in photographs from here for the most part. There's still some guys that I want to catch, and I've been looking for a great picture of Tyler Harmon for a while. Um,
I mean, there's a lot,
there's a lot, but
but
there's the one I want to catch him doing a thing. I want to catch him doing
yeah,
a thing, and not
yeah.
just hip sliding or something. I want there to be
He had the
the
yeah.
moment, and I
Mm-hmm.
need to catch it, and one of the photographers needs to catch. Like
Mm-hmm.
I need something to work from. I can't just work from my imagination at
Yeah.
this point.
But he's I mean, he's a freaking Adonis. Like I've heard multiple people call it. Yeah, like he's
Yeah,
proportionate. He's not a
yeah.
freaking
I
jockey
I
running around. So like
I
he's
tried for years to get to get a good picture of Rainey, and I was stoked when we picked him up because I could finally, like, he was going to be in front of me
oh
all the
great.
time, and
Yeah.
so he's in
Yeah.
several of them. Um,
Nice.
yeah, there's a few
He's a
people
good
like that
model.
I still want to
He's
catch. Yeah,
I've drawn Rainey. I did a painting of him of like he's good. Like I don't know. I don't want to say photogenic. He's like
no, he's got interesting features.
his
Yeah,
style, I guess. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
his style
yeah,
and like as far as like how he plays.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he's.
the other thing I want to catch is some of their body language. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of uncanny how everybody recognizes each other from like 200 paces with a mask on. And it's not
Yeah,
because you recognize the
and
team jersey, it's just that's the guy. And so I
yeah,
definitely want that to be like they should hopefully recognize each other and themselves in it. Um, and I'm starting to get better at that. I think I'm starting to get better at that.
yeah, absolutely. Like you know, um, man. Again, sorry, I'm still just like taking this in that like how almost like journalistic in nature this is. That's it's not journalism, but you're taking these mo momentous like parts of the sport and throwing it in there like neoclassical art or like what we would see, at I should know this. My art history is nowhere near where it should be.
Mine's
But
very specific
the
niches.
what's the triangular thing on top of the columns? The plintel?
Oh,
No,
the
that's the
pediment.
base.
The
Pediment. Yeah.
pediment is the triangle at the top.
I
Yeah.
just like like in a way like communicating these parts of the culture. Uh,
Yeah, and I think
and
that work is what I envisioned when I first thought it was like, oh, this is what
Mhm.
it should be. And so I'm not, the work has evolved from my research and from my ability. And so I think there's still lots of room to get to that point
Mhm.
that I'm interested in.
Okay. Well, I can't wait. Like I so were you an art history person? Like or like
No,
what got you into art? I guess we should start there.
it's just something I always enjoyed was drawing and whatnot. There wasn't my high school. We didn't really have art classes until my senior year, and
Oh
that
man.
wasn't super advanced or anything. So whenever I had the chance, I would take an art class. My degree is actually in film, and so
Okay.
in the process of getting that degree, I was required to take some basic art courses in the art
All right.
school. So I've had drawing one and several art history classes and
Nice.
2D design. So the first
Yeah.
sculpture I ever made was back then, was in like 2004
Okay.
for my 3D design course. We had to make a sculpture of our professor. And in the whole time I was
What?
there,
What?
in the whole time I
This
was there,
guy.
though,
Oh man.
she wore a unitard to class. She was very brave. Um, and we all turned in
Oh,
our
it was
main
like a
sculptures in a
figure. It
week.
was like a
You
figure
had to make a
study.
figure in three
Okay.
dimensions and like make a
I
thing that you
thought.
wanted to move
Okay.
around. And yeah.
I thought they were just like, hey, everyone make a bust of me. Whoever makes me look the best, you win.
No, it was an exercise in like in torsion and making a thing that you have to travel around the whole thing to take
Hmm.
in the whole thing. That it's not just a like a niche piece that would sit in a little alcove that only has a front. Um, but that was the
Gotcha.
only good critique I had the whole time I was in school in any department. It was the best
Oh,
critique anybody could ever hope to get. But it was the only good critique I got. But I didn't get to play with clay for years and years after that. Just because life happens, and
mhm.
you got to
Well,
finish
I'm
your
glad you came
degree.
back to
And
it. Yeah, yeah.
I, well, yeah, a friend of a friend had a piece in a show in Philadelphia, and I went, and the studio was so cool, the clay studio in Philadelphia. It's just this
Hmm.
beautiful space and tons of people around, all ready to share their knowledge and kid around. It was just a great place to be all the time. And so I took
Yeah.
one hand building class, and then you could rent a shelf there and keep your stuff there and come and go as you please, and they would fire everything for you. So I did that for like a year before I moved back to Florida and just put a kiln in the garage and started going.
Wow. Okay. What's oh I just sorry.
No, no,
I have
please,
to like I have to balance my art nerddom and like I want to make sure I'm getting your story out there. Um
please.
but just on a personal level, what size is your kiln? Sorry. Like is it
So my kiln was one of the larger ones. I had a easy program L&L. It's about the interior of it's about 3 feet tall and about 2.5 feet across. Or yeah, I think it's 27 inches across.
so how much does it cost to run that thing? Can I, if you don't mind me asking?
It depends anywhere from like $50 to $80 to run it,
Per
but it
cycle or
holds
whatever?
yeah, but it holds a
Okay.
ton of work. So
Yeah.
currently I don't have a kiln. My the ceiling in my studio caved in last year, and we're getting
No.
we're getting ready to actually tear down this whole place and rebuild. So for the
Wow.
last
All right.
year, I've been working at the dining room table, and I have a friend across town that I bring work to every Friday, and she fires stuff for me. So
Okay.
I making sure I still having
That's
somebody
good.
across town to take stuff to is like keeping me accountable
Yeah.
week to week. Like, do I have something to drop off? Why don't I have something to drop off? So
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
been good. I've limited on my supplies. I don't have most of my art supplies. Like all my everything is in storage or in boxes around here. Um,
Okay.
so it's just
Well,
it's a time of flux for us right now, but we're keeping busy and keeping working.
yeah, you are. Like I mean, I spent a decent amount of time scrolling through looking at all your stuff and I mean, like it was great. It was the happiest doom scroll I've had in a while. So,
Oh, nice!
yeah.
I like hearing that. I
I don't
think
know if
some
doom scroll's the right word. I don't know,
uh,
but you know.
uh,
Um,
if I don't make stuff for a while, I start to get like I call it the fear, but it's like my ego's kind of dangerously attached to whether I've done anything recently. Like I need
okay.
to I need to
Yeah.
keep like impressing myself. Like if I haven't done anything to impress myself in a while, I'm like, what are you doing? What's next? But like
Yeah.
it drags on me if I'm not thinking about the
Okay.
next thing.
And you call that the fear?
Yeah,
I love it.
that like there was never anything there to begin with. That nothing's going to come out again because sometimes you sit down and nothing comes out,
Hmm.
especially for drawing. Like sometimes there's nothing there,
Yeah.
and so you have to just pick up a book or go to a museum or whatever it is. I usually when that happens to me, I'm like, okay, I need to be taking stuff in. Um,
So that's interesting. Like other than the fear, uh you said you got a degree in film. Is that what you like said your career is something in film
no,
now or just
no, I mostly learned I don't love making movies. I love cameras. I love getting the shot, but filmmaking is crazy grueling in a way
yeah,
that
sure.
I'd so much rather be in my studio. I've
Hmm.
always done for work. I've always done office like switchboard
Okay.
executive assistant type stuff. I'm currently corporate secretary for a private foundation.
Okay. So that's awesome. That you have a oh, I'm going to say 9 to 5, and then you're like
It's not.
also
That's the
making, you know, like
Yeah. So
this is
it's
for
not 9 to 5. I get
okay.
most of my time to myself, and I get to schedule board meetings around paintball tournaments. So it works out really
Dude.
well. But I'm master of my own schedule, so I can, for the most part, I can work whenever I
Yeah.
want to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you have your job,
Yeah.
then you have the fear, but like what motivates you to make this art? Like because it is such a niche thing, and maybe you touched on it already,
Well,
but
a little bit. Like I said, going into lockdown, I really appreciated having something outside of myself that I felt like needed me to be working on it. Um, the other thing that happened then was early in lockdown, my mother passed from COVID.
sorry
She
to
was one
hear
of the
that.
first 100,000,
Oh
and
my gosh. Yeah.
that was um, it was extraordinarily difficult to go through in lockdown.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it was the first time in my life that I could turn to art as some kind of solace or escape. It didn't feel frivolous.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like you still have a job to do, and you're not there yet. So in that time, I really needed for this to be important, and so I just made it important to myself, and I haven't really felt the need to come up for air yet. I mean, there's unending material. There's not a ton of other people working in this space, certainly not in my medium.
Mm-hmm.
So I just haven't felt the need to go anywhere else. There's still a lot I want to catch.
Yeah. That's so interesting. As I was scrolling, I was like, I wonder, like, is this therapeutic for her, or like, what I wonder, you know, and or cathartic for her, you know? So thank you for sharing that.
I like that it's completely outside of myself. That it's I don't
Absolutely, I
like
get that.
making work that like about my shit. I don't
Yeah.
want to wallow in it. I don't want to memorialize it. I don't want to build monuments to nonsense. I just I'd rather look outwards. And so this is, we go drive cross country for this 5 times a year. This is what I'm observing. So
Hmm.
um, I might as well use that. It also makes it easier at tournaments that I have something of my own to focus on, and so I'm not like caught up in the rise and fall of what the team's doing, if they're doing well or not. I have my
Hmm.
own reasons to be there. I have my own goals, that things that I want to catch.
Hmm.
So that helps with just how hard tournament mode is.
Yeah. Man, I'm sure, especially being like attached to a pro team, also
It,
like
they're really
you
wonderful.
sometimes.
Pro team's way easier to be attached to than divisionals. I'll be honest. Um,
Oh, okay.
oh, by a long shot. I mean, so Damage is they're
Very
extremely
veteran.
professional.
Yeah.
They are their egos. They don't puff chests at each other. There's
They
almost
know
never.
how good they are.
I never
Yeah.
hear yelling. Well, yeah, and they buy
Yeah.
into each other. That nobody
Hmm.
thinks anybody else is an idiot. Nobody thinks they have all the answers. And so I've been really lucky to be exposed to them in particular. And it's been way easier to learn the game watching pro than watching divisionals. It's really hard to
Oh,
learn how to watch paintball watching divisionals.
man. I've been doing it all wrong. I just gotta go hang out with the pros. That's so cool. Man, again, thank you for sharing like about like some of the reasons of doing it, you know, and that especially like getting through COVID, that like that hit home with me a lot. This idea of like, hey, you know, yeah, there's things going on in my life, but I don't want to make art about that. You know, that's a weird sort of connection. Like people think like, oh, make art about it. You know, why
Yeah.
don't like I have family who like just that, like my son has a terminal disease, and my family's like, why don't you make art about that? I was like, because it's fucking miserable. Why would I do that? And so
Yeah.
it's like, let's focus on something else. I love how you said, like, yeah, that you don't, it's not something frivolous, that you're making
Yeah.
something. And that's so cool. I love everything about the whole reason you make art.
Um, I forget what I was going to say. There was something, but I'm sure it's not important.
Sorry, I was rambling. I was just
No, no, not at all. Not at all. There's lots of thoughts going through my head.
but like, I guess, well, like, maybe we use this as a little segue. So did you get the questions that I sent? I don't remember. Did
Yes,
I
I
send
did.
questions? Okay.
You
I was
you,
like,
you
oh
asked
no.
about a piece that really floored me.
Yeah, so like an artist that we need to know, whoever, and then also like not this doesn't have to be the same artist or the same work, but like a piece of art that floored you. And it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be, I don't communicate this well enough that it doesn't have, like, whatever comes to mind. I had a guest recently who said an illustration out of the old Highlights magazines was the first
Oh
thing
yeah,
that he
I
was like,
watched the interview you posted
yeah,
this morning. He was fantastic. Mike is
he's so
he's
cool. Yeah.
incredible. What a story. What a guy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's super
I
approachable
told
too, by
Dan,
the
I don't know
way.
how I'm
Yeah.
gonna follow that guy.
No, dude, you're doing great. Like, you've like, it's like I tell everyone, like, this is ultimately for me. I see people, I'm like, hey, they seem pretty cool. I wanna talk to them, maybe be friends with them. That seems cool. They make art or they like art, and if they like paintball, awesome. Like,
Right,
so,
right.
yeah.
It's nice
You're
when you can find people whose like more than one interest intersects is
yeah,
always really neat. Um,
yeah,
and paint's in the name. Like, of course, if
yeah.
there's a sport around, that's probably the one I'm gonna look at a little bit.
Thank you.
Um,
Mhm.
so let's see. As far as artists, I'm just gonna off the top of my head, my favorite bas relief artist right now is a Chinese artist named Jianan Wu. They work
Okay.
in like a plastic clay, like plastic clay and wire, and they do airbrush on it. And they're
Like polymer, like
yeah,
Sculpey.
it looks like plastiline, like the gray, but I don't think it's oil
Okay.
based. I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure.
All right.
But they're about the same size as my work, and the back of them will be bas relief, but then they have a great deal of sculptural element in the front, and so they're these great uh, uh, masses of people. One of them is the plane evacuated from Kabul airport with like a
Okay.
thousand people trying to get on it, and they're all individually sculpted. One of them is just a
Oh
huge
my
family
God.
at dinner, and everybody's on their cell phone and arguing with each other. And he did one that's
Oh,
a carousel with all of these like political and cartoon characters riding around. So he does this neat bridging of surreal work and political work and photorealism that is is really invigorating.
I
He's
can't wait to look at this. Yeah.
remarkable. Um, but the piece in I knew immediately when you said that what it was what I'd have to bring up. When I
Okay.
was doing all the research for this, I was looking at thousands of bas relief, trying to figure out what the trick is and what I like
Hmm.
and don't like. And I looked at ecstatic religious works and ancient works and lots of modern works. But this one, it's on a Russian World War II memorial in
Okay.
Belgorod. So this thing is called the Obelisk of Military Glory.
I think I know what you're talking about.
There are several of them apparently throughout the
Okay.
Russian world, but this one in Belgorod has on one side of it a bas relief that commemorates a tank battle between the Russians and the Germans. And this
Oh,
thing, it's like wrought by shrapnel. Like it's
okay.
dozens of tanks attacking each other in this rocky terrain. It it effectively transports you to a tank battle.
Oh
like a
man.
thing that is really unimaginable, certainly to my mind. But of all the thousands of pieces I looked at, this thing, like, it makes a sound. Like
Wow.
it's violent and it moves and you can hear it
Yeah.
and feel like the earth rumble. It's it's an astounding work. I have no idea who it's by. It's brutalist, so I'm guessing early 70s to, I don't know. Uh, the only date attached to it was 2016, but I think that has to be when the photograph is from. I'm not sure they were
Okay.
erecting new war memorials in 2016.
You never
Um,
know with Russia. That's
you never know. Um,
yeah.
but that was the thing that really I realized that it's not entirely about drilling down all the details, like getting the photograph just exactly perfectly and holding myself to that being correct. That
Hmm.
there was something else that could be wrought through all this stuff. And the other thing I started to learn early on was that the more time that I spent drilling down those details, the more frozen everything became in space. And
Hmm.
it, that's not what I want for these guys. Like they're almost never frozen.
Yeah.
So the looser and faster I can go, and the less precious I can be with it,
Yeah.
the more
Oh,
effective I think it's becoming.
for sure. Yeah, you capture the gestalt of the figures really well. So
Yeah.
like um even in your drawings too. Like just sorry, I have another artist on here, so I get to go full art nerd.
Yeah, yeah,
Gestalt for the listeners is the overall essence of something. It's a
yeah.
term used in art, but in gesture drawing, where it's like, I mean, I remember having to try to capture the essence of a figure with a line. They're like, all right, 2 second gesture drawing, go.
Yeah,
And you're
and
like, so, yeah.
I do like doing that. Like I'll sit and draw. Dan will be watching like pool or something on TV, and I'll sit and try and draw as fast as I can. And yet,
Hmm.
those are exercises that I definitely give myself. My drawings are largely like back of the envelope math. Like I'm just working
Yeah.
out where the
But it's,
problems are.
I love that about it. Like I can tell, like I know they're in a way they're not precious, but to the right person they are. When you look at it, you're like, oh, okay. And this is so. Um, don't degrade your sketches. Sketches are
No,
important.
I I tend to I think I adopted a style that allowed for me to be less skilled, and I use tools that are like really broad and like dribbly inks and whatnot. So the fact that the little details aren't quite there, it's not entirely on me. It's the tool, it's the
Yeah,
ink brand. It's it takes some of the pressure off to like do perfect pencil photorealism.
yeah. Man, I don't know. Like you're getting these details in these bas reliefs. Like I'm gonna push back a little bit. Like the wrinkles of the clothing, the masks. Like I can say, oh, I know what kind of mask that is, or I know,
Ah, that's great.
like you're doing great. So, yes, just the nature of clay itself, you have to be willing to let go of stuff because
Yeah.
the earth will fight back. But,
Yeah, it does have a mind of its own. Um,
yeah,
I did just find a foundry here locally that will cast uh, bronze sculptures for a hefty fee.
I gotta show you. I actually did in college. I did a bronze sculpture of
Oh, how cool! I
but
think
sorry,
it's
go on.
no,
You
no. I
go.
think it's going to afford me the opportunity to do more sculptures. Part of the reason I haven't made a lot of sculptures is because like the guns are a problem. They stick out and they're terracotta and rail thin, so
Mm.
like
Oh, I see. Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
huge points of failure.
Yeah.
There's a few things that like I would love to make that a sculpture, but this medium I can't do it in if I'm going to fire it.
Hmm. Yeah.
If it's going to be
Are
cast
you
in
opposed to
bronze,
like throwing like some wire in there, like some pretty heavy gauge wire or anything?
I can't fire it with wire in it.
Oh, shows
You
what I
can only
know.
put
Okay. So,
tiny
yeah.
bits of nichrome. You can put very thin nichrome wire in, but that's not going to
Yeah.
be, in my experience,
Yeah.
it's not going to be enough support. I did try many of
Gotcha.
the sculptures early on. I tried all the different gauges of wire I could get in there, of the flame-proof wire, and
Hmm.
so what happens is the wire expands and contracts at a different rate than the clay does, and
Yeah.
so it's very brittle when it comes out, and as soon as you go to do like any glaze work or even just clean it, that thing just and it's
Yeah.
gone.
Oh
I
man.
don't mind gluing things back together. I'm not too proud to use epoxy resin, but I'd rather
Smart.
those things will they won't travel or anything. So I will
Yeah.
have an opportunity to do some things in bronze here that I haven't been able to do yet. I want to do more
That
sculpture work for
is.
sure.
So are you gonna stick with like neoclassical influence with that, or are you gonna kind of
It's gonna
go?
go where it goes. I've done some
All right.
copies of older works. I did a copy of The Dying Gaul, but he's in paintball gear and like he's got a hit on his chest, and instead of the
Okay.
Dying
All right.
Gaul was the original one was Greek, but it was bronze, so it was melted down for war. But luckily, the
God.
Romans loved the Greeks so well that they copied every single thing, including this sculpture, but they made it in bronze or in marble, so it's still with us. Um, but
What?
it's a reclining. He's not reclining. He's been run through and is on his last breath. His arms holding him up and his head's down. His feet are out next to him, and he's having it's his
Oh.
last breath before his arm collapses. And so I was like,
What?
okay, let's like that's how we learn is you copy the classics. So let's try and
Okay.
make this guy, but it's instead of a nude, he's got his mask on his head and and his guns on the ground instead of his sword, and he's got a
Hmm.
hit on his chest, and
Oh my
his
gosh.
pods are all still full, and one of them spilled behind him. Um,
Okay, I think I saw that.
so that
Did you go ahead,
that was
sorry.
like my first sculpture attempt in lockdown was of that piece.
Okay. Did you paint the like you painted the
The
spilled
paintballs are
paint?
glazed yellow. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, yeah. Okay. I gotta go look at
yeah.
that again.
I like. I mean, everybody likes bright pearly
Yeah,
paintballs in the mud, and so I
of
like
course.
being able to pull those out a little bit, and that juxtaposition of that like candy, plasticky, like Barbie toy quality against all this muddy,
Mm-hmm.
gross.
Man. So, all right, so you discovered a foundry and you're gonna make a bunch of awesome bronzes now.
I'm hoping that an opportunity like an image, an event, something presents itself this year that I can make a sculpture that will end up doing that.
I mean, the yeah, uh sorry.
No.
This is so cool. Like, I do you have a website? Do you that you do
No,
this? This is
just
all
my
purely just
Instagram. Yeah, I've just
okay.
been, like I said, on my own journey, just figuring it
Oh,
out and
do you
trying
put
to
these
get
up
better
for
with every
sale or
piece.
anything? Do you
Um,
try
pe-
to sell them to anyone?
so I
Or
accept
do
that I
people
make
buy them, I
a.
guess?
Oh, that's the question. I accept that I make
Yeah.
a luxury product for a niche market, and so the selling of them is not the point. It would be very
Yeah,
nice,
of course. Yeah.
but the making of them has to be the point. Like it has to be worth it to me to make them in the first place, even
Yeah.
if they aren't
Not
sold.
necessarily a
Like,
commission, but like I'm
yeah,
just looking at the amount of work. I'm like, where does she keep all this
oh
stuff?
yeah.
So,
Right now, it's all packed up in a storage unit. Indeed, I would
okay.
love to eventually put it all together and have a show of all of it together in
That'd
one
be
space.
dope.
Would be really cool. But I haven't quite
Let's
figured
do
out
it.
the logistics of that quite yet.
No, let's do it.
Uh,
World Cup. World Cup. Let's do it. I'm calling it right now. Let's have.
I want to
I'm not
watch World
joking.
Cup. I don't want to
No,
work
no,
World
no, no,
Cup.
no,
I
no.
want to watch
Listen,
World
listen.
Cup.
No, I'm not joking. Like, let's do it. We'll organize, paintball artist right now. Like, I talked to Sean Vera, who does Vera Art and Outdoors
Oh yeah, yeah, I follow him.
recently.
Yeah,
He did that Grayson Gladstone piece, and I bet he
yeah.
could help us sort of navigate that. He hasn't made a whole bunch of paintball related art
Mhm.
necessarily, but like, like we're as far as I know, we're the unicorns, like we're the ones making this art. And I think I've wanted to do this for a while of like not at the tournament, but like you know how they used to do. I don't know. We could find a space somewhere, or even like maybe we could talk the Hormesis guys into like, hey,
that
this
would be
one of
extremely
these
cool.
one of these
There's,
nights, can we put our stuff on display and have an
oh,
opening?
that would be super cool.
And that would speak
That
to us so much because it's our community, and I think they would love
yeah,
it.
that actually feels possible. Feels more
Oliver,
possible than anything I
Alex,
had
let's do
imagined.
this. Yeah.
Let's do this.
So,
Hi guys, let's do this.
would you be down? Would you
Yeah,
like?
absolutely. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
go to
I'll
the
reach
storage
out to
unit.
them. I'll reach out to them because I have a feeling, uh, and we could get Alex to. Have you seen any of Alex Frazier's work?
I
He
haven't
does
seen any
these.
of his artwork.
All I've seen are sketches, but I know there's lore that he's an artist. Like I know he does
I've
design
heard
work and
him
stuff for them, and you
referred
could
to that
say
way. Yeah.
Hormesis in general is art, and like
Well,
the
yeah,
headband,
absolutely. Yeah,
So I bet we could. I think we could make it
let's
happen.
try.
Yeah, we'll do it. This is our plea. All right, sorry, I cut you off.
No,
So
not at all.
you
Let's go.
right now you just it's all in storage. Has anyone? So I know
Nobody's
how it
purchased
goes
this.
when people offer it. They're like, "Oh, that's dope. Do you sell it? Someone should buy that." And I'm like, "Pony up, let's go." So,
Well, yeah,
what
you say
would?
a number and everybody goes,
Yeah,
"Oh, I got to save up for that." And
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So somebody approached me last year with a couple of photographs, and they asked, what would it cost? And I
Hmm.
gave them a number, and they said, "Gonna have to save up for that." But I kept looking at the photographs they sent me, and one of them, I was like, I really want to try that. Like, it's a challenge that I'd like to do. So I
Hmm.
said, well, if I can have your permission to use the photograph, I'll send you the drawing, like the preliminary work for it. She said, great. But now that it's all done and been here and all, I'm probably just going to send it to her.
That's the
But
best feeling.
I'm not going to
That's
I can't make a habit of that. But
yeah,
but for this, it makes sense. They're divisional guys. They're in
yeah.
it for the love of the sport, and picture was great.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's how that shook out.
Yeah. I guess we should just make a bunch of paintings of Alex Goldman since he's the one with all the money now.
I haven't gotten a good picture of Mouse yet.
Yeah. I mean, I rely just because I'm landlocked. I don't go to the tournaments all that much. I rely heavily on photographers.
Yeah.
You know, and so
There's only so
uh,
much I can shoot through the net from the grandstands,
mhm,
either because the time of day or the sunlight.
yeah,
There's often reasons I can't get good photographs through the nets. So I've been extremely lucky that I think it's a dozen photographers now have collaborated with me.
that's amazing.
Everyone I've approached and been like, "Hey, can I try?" has been like, "Have at it."
Yeah.
They really appreciate being asked first.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
the
yeah.
big takeaway from that. Apparently, a lot of people don't ask, and that starts
Yeah.
to really grate on a
Or
person,
credit them. They
or
don't
credit them at
ask
all in
and
the
they
end.
don't tag
Yeah,
them. It's like that. This
yeah,
is really
that's
simple, guys.
yeah.
And
So yeah, I try not to
yeah,
do that at all.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm extremely grateful for everyone who's agreed to work with me. We're really lucky to have as many people as we do, putting out the quality work that they do.
yeah. It's
It's crazy that the wave of media that comes out after every tournament is
mhm.
impressive.
And they're not chumps. It's not
Oh
just
no,
like
no,
it's
those guys are.
like you hear these stories though where it's like, oh, I just figured I'd give it a shot one day, and it's like, okay, but like Shelda, Dan,
Oh
he
yeah,
was just like, I think I'll give
I've
it a
used
shot,
he's worked with
and
me.
yeah, he's outstanding and so
Yeah,
devoted. Like he
yeah,
put in the hours. They all do. Verb
yeah,
and there's a lot of Texas ones that I'll shout out just because that's where I'm from. But like, Fava, my
yeah,
goodness, that
yeah.
dude, and Philip Swindle.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
they're all.
definitely follow
Thank you,
all of these
photographers.
guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those
Wow.
guys have
Okay.
to eat to get the good pictures. They got to eat a lot of paint. They gotta
Hmm.
break a few lenses. It's crazy hard what they do. It's just as hard as what the guys are doing out there
Hmm.
on the field. Being on the field is being on the field, whether it's a camera or a marker in your hand.
Yeah, paint's still flying. It
Yeah,
doesn't hurt less.
yeah. And if you want the
Yeah,
good pictures, it has to be flying directly at you.
yeah, yeah.
Those are
Wow.
the great ones, over the guy's shoulder and the stream of paint coming in.
Hmm.
Those are the
That
ones that
was,
put you on the field with the guy.
mhm. Man. Okay. Well, I mean, so I guess what's next? Besides, so you already the
Well,
foundry, the
yeah. I
brass.
mean, that feels a little ways off. Um, I in the off season this year, I'm going back through work that I did and am not satisfied with, like work that I did 4 or 5 years ago when I started, and I just wasn't quite up to or couldn't really find my way in. So I'm going
Hmm.
back through and seeing what's still there to mine. I did see a picture last week that Stretch posted that
Hmm.
I would love to try. For some reason, I'm anxious about approaching him about it, but I just gotta shake that off and write him a note and ask him if
Stretch.
he'll work with me.
Hook it
Uh,
up, man. That's he's he
he
seems like a nice guy. Most of my interactions are all like Instagram, but
seems wonderful. I just,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of his work, and he's a
Hmm.
busy guy, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's hard to approach photographers and be like, hey, can I? Hi, you
Yeah.
don't know me.
Gimme. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just playing
Yeah.
in clay over here, and I'm not a good. I don't know if anybody's a very good judge of their work, so I don't know what it looks like to anybody else. And so I don't know if people
Well,
are like, "Oh, yeah, you're just some kid. You go right ahead." Like I can't. There's like a there's like a weird blindness about it that we all have, I think, about our work.
okay. Yeah, but
It's hard to
if
see.
no one's told you, it's really good.
I
So
definitely feel like
that's
I've improved a great deal, certainly since I started, but even in the last year, I think I've had some breakthroughs in just how I work,
yeah,
and what I expect from it has changed.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I've seen growth in the I guess I don't know how to like technical. I don't not even that like just there maybe in a definition of a style of a personal style. Like I've seen growth in that. Like it's like oh okay, this is
I I think
this
as
is
it
blog full of
loosens
jellies.
up,
So yeah.
I think as it loosens
That's,
up, it's definitely I'm somehow being expressed more through it. I had I have a good friend who's an incredible mural artist named Richie Brazil. I was on the phone with him years ago, and he was like, "Just tell your story." It's like, man, Richie, do I have to? Like, I don't want to tell my story. My story's not cool. Like, can it be something else? Can it be something outside of me? And so that too is a reason I'm grateful to be here. Is that it's not exactly my story. I'm just here to observe. But it is interesting to me that somehow I am coming through the work despite it not being about
yeah.
me and me not trying to. I'm just trying to be accurate. I'm not trying to do anything stylized, but I am trying
I
to
mean,
loosen up, which I don't feel is. I'm not sure that's the same thing.
yeah. Well, sorry. That's
No,
the high school, all the kids. Oh, Mr. Riddle, that's not my style. I don't want to draw realistic. It's like, guys, stop. So the like, but I guess like when when I talk about yours, like your style is like you've put in the effort and it, the the indentations you make in the clay, the manipulation of like how you create the pots, the pants and the clothing and how you like, little hints of like your fingerprints in there. Like that's to me that's your style or your I don't know, your voice, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's really like becoming more cohesive further along it's happened. So there's
I used
that,
to
but
be
also, oh, go ahead.
I,
Sorry.
I used to be real careful about not messing up the substrate, like having the back be completely smooth around the figures. And
Yeah.
I've stopped worrying about that for at least the last year. And so all those little bits that are stuck on there and sort of erased lines and where my hands
Mhm.
rested on it, I like all that stuff. It does add some movement and texture and atmosphere to it. Um,
Yeah.
I've
Uh,
stopped caring. If the bunker's not important to the narrative of the piece, I just don't even bother with it because I
oh my
hate making
gosh. It's
bunkers.
like, yeah. The but it reminded me of like these sketches from so Texas Boy here, the Frederick Remington and
Oh yeah, I
MC
love his
Russell,
work.
like these
Yeah,
Western artists,
yeah,
or even
yeah,
like he did bronze casts too, but like, they would leave out like they'd have these real dramatic poses of some dude on a horse or whatever, something westerny.
yeah.
And then like when I see the what you're describing, the player without the bunker, and it's like, oh, this is like a I don't even know. It's almost like this weird like tableau just of the not that's not the right word. This weird like just it's not weird, sorry.
No, no,
This 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 moment and you've emphasized the important part of the moment by leaving out certain aspects. So, good move, I think.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely trying to like strip it down from like I don't need all those little details. I hate pod packs. Like the pod packs are always only going to be hinted at. Like it's too many little bits, and the piece isn't about that. And if I really
Mhm.
try and get that exact, you're just going to be staring at the pod pack the whole time.
Mhm.
So I just there's certain aspects that if it's not necessary and that's not doesn't contribute to the story that's being presented, I just leave it out now. And it
Yeah.
having like just the guy floating in space, there's like a icon quality to it, like the Russian icons where there's no
Mhm.
context. It's just that figure, or like the early devotionals, like religious devotionals, where it just be Mary on a field of blue. So I use that
Yeah.
blue a lot. Is that turquoise blue for the background is
Mhm.
um, is from Della Robbia. So his devotionals from the Renaissance, they
Okay.
were always that turquoise background. It'd be a shiny white figure of Mary or Joseph or whoever, John the Baptist or whatever. And then there's like a wreath around them of greenery and
Mhm.
lemons
I
and
saw that
grapes
one.
or yeah. So the they're still making Della Robbias in Italy. You can go and buy a brand new one, and they look just like the ones from 1600.
Whoa.
He made like a mass production line for these things.
Okay.
His big contribution, he perfected a glaze that makes terracotta durable outdoors. It makes it shiny bright white, and you can color it brightly. But it also makes it so you can use it in architecture and on the exterior of a building, or because you can paint it because it's bright shiny white, it could be inside a candlelit space. So he was the guy that
Whoa.
made terracotta, this cheap, really plentiful substance,
Huh.
something that could make fine art. But he also started this mass production process, this mold making process, and so this new middle class could buy a cheap one for their house. So this is like the same time as the printing press came out. And so there's this democratization of art that was going on that he was a huge contributor to. And the printing press, they weren't just making books on that; they were printing posters for people's houses. Like this is the first time
Mhm.
that just regular people who weren't from the patron class could have
Yeah.
anything like that. So his work is really serene, and that turquoise just kills me. It's just calming and soothing. So I use that white on blue a lot, just because I think graphically it's really attractive.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, that's like cross-cultural white and blue for clay products or ceramic products,
Okay.
China. Yeah, I don't
Well,
not
yeah,
turquoise, but the
right.
family of
The
blue.
blue
Yeah.
wear on, yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Uh,
Um,
but I didn't know that about uh the process that he created for terracotta. Like
yeah, and then
you
his
really paid
studio.
attention in art history. Yes, good job.
I liked his work, and the thing about I mean Della Robbia is I said they're still making them. So there's houses here in town that you'll see them like on the outside of their gate or like next to the front door, there'll be a
Hmm.
there'll be a bas relief there. And
Wow.
most major museums in the world have one.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
most of the major museums that I've been to in the world have at least one.
Nice.
We have one here in town at the Railing Museum.
Right on. Okay. I this is a new thing for me. I I'm sorry. I'm the meathead of the art world. I'm the I
That just means there's
did
so
you
much left to explore. It's so
there you
exciting.
go. What a positive turn. And I love that.
Can't
Yeah.
I can't be
I,
expected to have it all figured out. I only like just recently got my shit together to do this. So don't expect too much, man. You got a lot going on.
no. Well, man, this has been a really great conversation. I appreciate you sharing everything. I appreciate the just sort of getting into your story of art. I feel like we oddly barely talked about paintball, but if I think about it, we did talk about a lot.
It was definitely in there. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you asking, and I love to talk about art and rarely get an opportunity to. And we talk about
Anytime, man.
paintball a
Yeah.
lot, but not in an art context.
I
And
know.
and I had been doing just this for kind of a while, so it was probably time for me to explain myself a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it. Um, I gotta do a shout out. My daughter, Charlotte, confronted me and she said, "Dad, there's a lot of dudes that you're talking to." And I was like, "You're right. You're right. I know." And so you're the first woman on my podcast, and I couldn't think of a better person to do this. I really appreciate you taking
Well,
the time to do this, and she's gonna love this whole conversation. And
well
hopefully,
spotted,
like,
Charlotte. I'm sorry I
yeah.
cursed a few times.
Oh, it's
It's
nothing.
paintball.
Yeah, she's been to a tournament, and I'm her father.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
She's fine. She's been exposed.
yeah.
Yeah.
But truly, thank you so much for all of this. Did you have any questions for me? Sorry, I don't want to jump
This has
out too
been
quick.
like such a whirl of wind. I wish I could collect my thoughts a little bit better at this point and pose questions to you. I'm sure I'll think of something as soon as we've
It is. It's
disengaged, and you'll just have to have me on again.
yeah, I like that. After it, we'll do yeah, next after the bronze piece, or after maybe I'll just check in after every tournament and be like, what's the moment that you captured?
That'd be
You know,
great. That'd be great.
I this is that aspect of it. Like I'm gonna be watching tournaments now and be like, which which one's she gonna get? Which moment is she
Well, usually
focused
it's like the
on? And
end of the tournament. You come away and go, God, I hope somebody caught Jacob tackling that guy.
yeah,
Jacob
yeah.
tackled like three guys, and luckily Sam Bennett, all in media, he got one shot ground level, and I was able to unravel like where everybody's parts must be and
Yeah.
figure it out for a sculpture of Jacob just
Oh
absolutely on
man,
top of some poor
pummeling
guy from
someone. Yeah.
Uprising. But yeah,
Wow.
so it'll be something like that that happens, and I'm just like, oh, please, I hope somebody got a shot of that. I don't want to ever
Yeah.
commemorate somebody getting hurt. Like
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
there's been some amazing like people getting tanked, and somebody catches that shot, and they're
Yeah.
incredible photographs. But I don't need to.
Oh, I think a
It's
sculpture of a yard sale would be pretty fun. Like just
I
all
do like
the
terrible
explosion.
dives. I
Yeah.
love terrible dives. I've tried to do a hopper spill this a couple months ago and just like get all the balls in there. And so it's not all perfect moments,
Yeah.
but I definitely don't want to catch anybody like at the worst moment of
Yeah. You
their
don't want to
weekend or career.
commemorate. That's the piece that like the whole world jumps in like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
amazing, and you're like, I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's the
You
one
go
where
down in
Marshmallow lost
history.
all his teeth. Like, I don't need to do
Oh
that,
gosh.
you know?
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really do
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. This was a lovely and laid back conversation. I was a bit anxious, maybe just a
Well,
little bit anxious in general,
well,
but
you did great.
this was easy and pleasant and fun. So thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you in person. Are you coming to Tampa?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. I think it lands during spring break, and
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's.
to get out there, I'll be honest, I'd rather do other things. Sorry,
Look,
if
I
I'm not
respect
playing.
that.
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
It's a ton of work. It's super grueling just to spectate. It's a
Yeah.
big
I would
thing.
love to make it to the summit. I went to the summit last year, and that was
Yeah,
so
it's gonna
cool.
be. I think it's gonna be in Ybor City. They said. I haven't looked exactly where the venue is yet,
I'm
but I
assuming,
think it's gonna be Sunday of the Tampa tournament.
yeah, it's got to
Is
be
when it'll be.
close. Like I don't know, I'm not familiar with Florida all that much.
It's
But
so it's
yeah.
a hour, depending on traffic. It's an hour north of here. That Raymond James Stadium is from us.
Oh, that's cool. But
Yeah,
the summit, how far from
that'll be in
Raymond
Ybor
James?
City, close to there. That'll be in
Okay.
Tampa.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
an hour and a half. I haven't gone in ages.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, uh, mm, I forgot about the summit. I might, if I make it down, I'm like, hey, what's up? But I really am gonna reach out to Hormesis and see if maybe we
That would
could.
be that would be amazing. That would be
Yeah.
really outstanding. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
that'd
bet.
be super cool.
I, yeah. And then if we don't get it, then the whole world of Spotify will know why. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. All right. Well, I'll let you to it. Thank you so much for your time, for your story, and just for your art, especially. Like, yeah, everyone go check her out. Blog full of jelly.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how you forget that one. That's a great, great tag. So,
Thank
uh,
you.
yeah. All right. Have a good one.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you again to my patrons. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can visit patreon.com/riddlesart to see how you can support the show. This video is made available by viewers like you.